Change is seldom easy. Change that changes us is hard. But here we are. We need wider vision, broader reach, deeper hearing, truer speech, love and justice, hand in hand. Neither one alone will heal this land. Change is seldom easy. Change that changes us is hard. But here we are. We need to learn our weakness, other strength, go the distance, any length, love and justice, hand in hand. Neither one alone will heal this land. Change is seldom easy. Change that changes us is hard. But here we are.
Hello, UU family. I'm going to sing a song with you called Shine on Me. It's an amazing spiritual that anybody can sing. And in these days when the things that we're dealing with, the feeling separate and all of that, and things seem so hard, this is one of those songs that you just throw your head back, put it in your medicine kit. All you have to do is ask. And here's how it goes. Shine on me, oh shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me, oh shine on me, yes, shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me. Lift me up, oh, lift me up. Let the light from the lighthouse lift me up, oh, lift me up, yes, lift me up. Let the light from the lighthouse lift me up. Oh, hold me close, yes, hold me close. Let the light from the lighthouse hold me close, yes, hold me close, oh, hold me close. Let the light from the lighthouse please hold me close. Oh, shine on me, shine on me, yes, shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me. Oh, shine on me. Yes, shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on all you have to do is just ask. The light is always there. Always. Always. Oh, yeah.
You can say that you stand apart, put a fence around your yard. You can build a tall rampart, guard it with a gun. You can dig yourself a moat, burn the bridge and burn the boat. It won't matter that much, you know, 'cause all the world is one. All the world is one. You can march in a big parade every Independence Day. You can raise up your own flag, sing your own anthem. It'll ring out in the air with the other anthems there, till the winds of the earth declare all the world is one. All the world is one. Go and ask the Buddha when he's sitting under the tree. Go ask Walt Whitman when he's looking out at the sea. Ask Alan Shepard when he's standing up on the moon, staring at that pearl of blue. Ask an atom in the breath you take. Ask the water by the river bank. Ask a strand of DNA, it's written in your blood. One life running in your veins, one life from one big bang. You can try and separate it, but all the world is one. All the world is one. Go and ask the Buddha when he's sitting under the tree. Ask Annie Dillard when she's up on Tinker Creek. Ask Alan Shepard when he's standing up on the moon, staring at that pearl of blue. Take an outbound train, try to make a getaway. You can ride off like John Wayne to the setting sun. But earthlings don't leave town, they just go round and round until they figure out all the world is one. All the world is one. All the world is one. All the world
We're gonna see the changes we've been looking for. We're gonna find the common ground we need. We're gonna see the light come on in dark places. And we're going to reach Martin's dream. Some of the young are born now, seeing from the mountaintop, miles above generations never quite free. Living in history's pages, timing is everything. And we're going to reach Martin's dream. It's been longer than it's gonna be. Grace falls open, love is breaking free. Let hate be done. We are the ones, hard as that might be to believe. We're going to reach Martin's dream. It's been longer than it's gonna be. Grace falls open, love is breaking free. Hatred be done. We are the ones, hard as you find that to believe. We're going to reach Martin's dream.
Good morning and welcome. You have found your way to the live stream for the currently all virtual All Souls Unitarian Universalist Church of Shreveport, Louisiana. And if you think you see a different face here this morning, you're right. Reverend Barbara cannot be with us today, but she will join us next week. And we're very glad that you're here. We are a covenantal religious community. That means that we are united not by a common creed or set of beliefs, but by the promises that we make to each other for the way that we will be together in community. That is our covenant, and that is also our challenge. And it's a challenge that we try and meet with joy and energy, and we look forward to having you as a part of that community. Right now we are virtual through the month of January. We are hoping that things might look better in February, and we're going to reevaluate at that time, but it's it is a hard time for everybody, and the most careful people are getting this. And so I really encourage you to be careful and to take care of yourself as best you can. And I am, as always, more and more grateful to those essential workers, those healthcare workers, and those teachers, and those grocery store people, and everybody that has to be out there doing the work so that the rest of us can get from day to day. That is a blessing to us that we do not take for granted or take lightly. We do try to start these services with some announcements at the beginning, and so I will pass that over. Speaking of the healthcare workers that we love and respect and thank, I will pass this over to our board representative today, our treasurer, Rebecca Tuggle.
Good morning, and thank you, Susan. I appreciate that. And thank you all for being here. We're very happy to have you here with us. We usually start with thanking our volunteer of the month. And for this month of January, our volunteer of the month has been at Upton, twice, or two-term president, who was just recently put down his presidential seal and handed it off to Sally Wood. But Bennett is involved in so many things. I could take the whole time just to list all of that, but suffice it to say that he is well deserving of it, and congratulations to you, Bennett. Our giveaway the plate this month, as you may or may not know, we give any proceeds that we receive in our collection basket to a worthy cause, and we pick one for the month. And this month it is Volunteers for Youth Justice. Now, they do a big fundraiser every year called Gumbo Gladiators, and this will go towards helping that. But they work to recruit, train, and support hundreds of volunteers who provide services for at-risk children in our area. So they are an extremely worthy cause. You can donate online at our website, which is allsoulsshreveport.org. Or you can mail your check into the church at 9449 Ellerby Road, Shreveport 71106. Also, there will be links in the chat for that kind of thing. Just make sure that you note that contribution is for Giveaway the Plate. You can also pay your pledge or donate to the church as well, going online and doing that. Speaking of which, if you have not made your 2022 pledge yet, I urge you to please go ahead and do that. We will be having a congregational meeting on the 30th of this month to review and then vote in our budget for 2022. And so you can help make that happen. And of course, thank you very much for helping to support us in the work that we do, as well as being a source of liberal religion here in Northwest Louisiana. Zoom lunch is now on Tuesdays, so you can check in for that at noon, and you can see links in the chat as well. Thank you, Steve Caldwell, for more information on that. Our weekly meditation group, led by our own meditation master, who is here today, Larry Andros, as he is with us for each Sunday. Those happen on Saturdays online at 10:30. You can also see links in the chat for that, or go on the All Souls website. Building and Grounds, which generally happens on the second Saturday of the month, actually happened this past Saturday, the 15th. So definitely want to thank everybody that was involved with Building and Grounds, because we do most of the heavy lifting as far as keeping up our church building as well as our grounds and facilities. So thanks to all of those who do that. If you haven't done it, and I am one of those people that have not done it, it would be nice if you came out like I say, it's one Saturday a month, usually the second Saturday of the month, but you can also check on our website for information on that as well. And that is what I have. So I will hand it back over to Susan.
Thank you so much, Rebecca, and thank you for that reminder, because I do have the Building and Grounds list from yesterday right here. We want to thank Dawn Shubasich and Eric first, Tina Hines, and Bob Jordan for being here yesterday. And they got quite a few things done outside and some inside tasks. And so we really appreciate that. And we do building and grounds, we try to be really, really safe when we do that. Everybody, if they're indoors, especially masked up, a lot of times they're one to a room working, and say hi to each other from a distance, and try to really, really respect, the guidelines and be safe, but also keep this place, our physical church home, in good shape while we're all not here. And let's see, adult religious education, as Rebecca said, continues. We're having some really good discussions based on the podcast Learning How to See with Brian McLaren and people from the Center for Action and Contemplation, which is Richard Rohr's place in New Mexico. So it's always open. We encourage anybody to join us anytime that would like to. And I believe that is all. Children's religious education still on hold, and I don't know. We'll see how much longer this is, but I'm going to probably be reaching out to parents and kids to see what we can do that would be helpful and keep us connected even as we need to be safe. So with that, we will turn to the worshipful portion of our service. I encourage you to take a deep breath, and I'm going to tell you to do something I usually don't do, but scrunch your shoulders up first and just kind of tighten them up like this. And when you take a breath, go ahead and just let them down and feel them totally relaxed. And then take another deep breath. And when you let it out, feel your shoulders relax a little more. You'll always kind of be surprised at how that they can still relax a little more. And just be here in this moment with us.
Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, spirits draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in the mystery of the body, scattered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in the mystery of the body, scattered here in the struggles and the body, scattered here in the struggle of the power, scattered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in the mysteries of the body, scattered here in the struggles and the body, scattered here in the struggle of the power, Spirit, draw near.
We're called to worship this morning with the words from Dr. King's Christian tradition from the second chapter of James. What good is it, my people, if you say you have faith, but you do not have works? Can faith save you? If a sibling is naked and lacks daily food, and one of you says to them, "Go in peace, keep warm and eat your fill," and yet you do not supply their bodily needs, what is the good of that? So faith by itself, if it has no works, is dead. Show me your faith apart from your works, and I, by my works, will show you my faith. And from Frederick Douglass, those who profess to favor freedom yet deprecate agitation are people who want crops without plowing up the ground. They want rain without thunder and lightning. They want the ocean without the awful roar of the waters. The struggle may be a moral one, or it may be both moral and physical, but it must be a struggle. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. Find out what people will submit to, and you have found out the exact amount of injustice which will be imposed upon them. The limits of tyrants are prescribed by the endurance of those whom they oppress. For our first chalice lighting this morning, I am inviting Ava Kate and Jackson Peck to share with us the children's chalice lighting.
We light this chalice to celebrate Unitarian Universalism. This is the church of the open mind. This is the church of the helping hands. This is the church of the loving heart. Together with mind, hands, and heart, we care for the earth and for each other.
Thank you so much. That was excellent, guys. And for our chalice lighting here in the sanctuary this morning, spirit of light and love, spirit of resistance, spirit of generosity, that which serves as our conscience in this work that we do to dismantle white supremacy, to empower the marginalized, to insist that Black Lives Matter. We have been angered, we have been saddened, we have been pushed to the brink once more. We are also inspired and seem resolved to do better, to not simply get to the other side of this moment, but to get there morally healthier, to get to a safer space for Black bodies. Spirit, help us to understand that we each have a role in justice work, for our liberations are tied to one another's. Give us the clarity of mind to know what our individual part is in that struggle, that there are ways to protect, that there are ways to protest injustice. Help us to find our way and to commit to it. Spirits, we ask for guidance. Send us strength and endurance. Help us to give our all to this and hold nothing back. For precious lives depend on it. We will be imperfect. Rest assured that we will mess up over and over again. And we must do it anyway. May we summon the courage to tear down this system of injustice and get busy creating a world community with justice for all. May it be so. Amen. And I will ask Rebecca Tuggle to come back and lead us in our unison affirmation.
Thank you, Susan. And I ask everyone to rise in body or spirit as you feel comfortable and say this with me. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve human need, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the sacred. Thus do we covenant with each other.
We'll
So, in our story for All Souls this morning,
Susan, I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt, but you've got something on your face. I thought you might want to know.
nope, I don't have anything on my face.
Yeah, it's right here. Yeah.
What are you talking about? You're wrong. I'm not going to listen to you. I need to get on with my story here, Jennifer. This is really kind of rude.
I know. I just thought you might want to know because, there's people watching. And
It's funny you should say that because I think you're really the one with something on your face.
I don't think so. You do have
Yeah,
something.
are you sure? Are you sure about that? I am an expert face washer. I was washing faces in the streets in the 60s before you were born, lady.
I have no doubt. But today you've got a little something on your face.
Oh my God. I do. I have something on my face. This is the worst thing ever. Oh my Lord. Oh, how will I ever, how could I ever get over this? Oh man.
It's really not a big deal. You can just wipe it off and we can move on.
How dare you tell me that I have something on my face? I'm the real victim here because that's just the worst thing you can tell somebody. I don't think I want to hang out with you anymore. My black friend says I have nothing on my face, and she's been to my house.
Yeah, well, I don't know if she saw you today.
You're just trying to teach me critical face theory, and that's just reverse facism.
Right. Well, maybe just wipe your face.
Oh wow. Thank you. Thank you for telling me. Thank you. It can be really sticky sometimes, and
Yeah.
I do. Sometimes I get stuff on my face. I'm so thankful. Oh, you're such a good friend to me right now, helping me with this. And I've been working on it, and I keep working on it. But sometimes things get on my face, and I just don't see. So, Jennifer, thank you so much for
Yeah.
your
Glad to help.
help with that. I appreciate you letting me know. So, can you tell me if it's all gone right now?
It is. You look great.
And can you help me if it happens again?
Oh yeah, of course.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, what do you think is the best kind of friend? The one who'll tell you when you have something on your face or broccoli in your teeth or whatever? Or maybe you've said or done something that you didn't realize was kind of racist? And or would you want a friend who's the one that just kind of lets it go, but maybe they go off and talk to other people about it instead of talking to you? I think personally, I would want the friend who's going to be honest with me and tell me the truth in a loving way, but tell me the truth, even when the truth is hard to hear. And when we think about being in community together as Unitarian Universalists and what that means, which response did you think was the best one of all those different responses? And sometimes it can be hard to hear, and we might get mad, or we might feel like we want to get angry, or we might feel like, I've messed up so bad. I never want to see anybody again. I never want to do anything again. I'm never going to try anything ever again. And that's not helpful either. I had somebody say one time that guilt's kind of like your grandma's rocking chair, a whole lot of motion, but it doesn't get anywhere. So it's not about making us feel guilty. But there are just times when we need to hear news or feedback that might cause us discomfort. But in hearing it and responding to it constructively with curiosity, like maybe, well, how could I have said that better? Or humility, just knowing that we don't know everything. We don't know what we don't know. And that's a great place to start, is that we don't know what we don't know. And it's true, especially when it comes to somebody telling us about our privilege, and whether that is our white privilege, whether that is our privilege around gender or sexual orientation or gender identity, ability, all of these things, it's just important to be able to listen with curiosity, to be able to take a breath and listen and just try and do better next time and be thankful for those friends who will tell you the truth. So with that, we want to play for you this beautiful video of Lift Every Voice and Sing, which is known as the Black National Anthem, originally the Negro National Anthem. It was a poem that was composed by a man named James Weldon Johnson, and then his brother, John Rosamond Johnson, composed the music. And it was premiered in Jacksonville, Florida in 1900 at a celebration of Abraham Lincoln's birthday. And it was sung by 500 Black school children. And it carried this respect and sadness and solemnity for slavery, for the past, and at the same time, the hope for greater freedom in the future. And it has been carried through to the civil rights movement to this day. And what's wonderful about this video is the choir that's singing it is from Ghana, which is the first place from which slaves were taken through the door of no return. And so to me, the combination of this choir and this song seem particularly poignant on this weekend. And so I'm going to stop talking now and let you hear Lift Every Voice and Sing by the African Glorious Chorale of Ghana with Kukui Salermi as the soloist.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven
Good morning. For today's meditation, let yourself find a comfortable position, a position in which your body can be balanced and your spine straight. Begin with a deep, comfortable breath, shifting your attention to your heart space, and imagine breathing in and out of your heart. Allow your breath to deepen and slow. Allow your breath to be soft and kind. As you center in this moment's infinite possibility and potential, reflect. As I have traveled on my life journey, I have heard a call that has come from mountaintops and valleys, a call that has come from the hearts of young and old, a call that has been spoken in every language the human heart has known. That call is the call for freedom. Freedom from what chains us to the wheel of suffering, freedom to speak our truth, freedom to love and celebrate all the seasons of life. Today, I choose to walk and live in the way of freedom, that its light may shine brightly in my world. I first bring freedom's gift to my own self. May I be free from the chains of grasping and aggression that imprison myself and others. May I know the open spaces of wisdom and kindness. May I know what's true. May I then bring the gift of freedom to my beloved community. May I help open and smooth the pathways for their unique expression. May I celebrate their victories and bring healing for their wounds. May their lives be free and filled with joy. May I then join hands with countless others to make freedom real and safe, that we may sit with one another in peace and join our visions with understanding. May the freedoms that we forge together be a precious gift to generations yet to come. As I pause now in this sacred moment, I center in my breath. Breathing in, I touch the dream of freedom. Breathing out, may I bring that dream to earth with my next step.
This reading is entitled A Network of Mutuality, and it's by Dr. King. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny.
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
There are some things in our social system to which all of us ought to be maladjusted.
Hatred and bitterness can never cure the disease of fear. Only love can do that.
We must evolve for all human conflict a method which rejects revenge, aggression, and retaliation.
The foundation of such a method is love.
Before it is too late, we must narrow the gaping chasm between our proclamations of peace and our lowly deeds which precipitate and perpetuate war.
One day we must come to see that peace is not merely a distant goal that we seek, but a means by which we arrive at that goal.
We must pursue peaceful ends through peaceful means.
We shall hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. Jennifer, before you speak this morning, I just want to quickly thank you. We kind of pulled this together very quickly this week, and I'm so thankful that you had heart for the topic, and I want to introduce to everyone Dr. Jennifer Russell.
Thank you, Susan, and good morning. So today is going to be a little less sermon and maybe a little more history lesson than might be typical, but I hope you all don't mind indulging a little bit of my nerdiness today. At the end of last week, I listened to a podcast about Dr. King and the process through which the federal holiday that now commemorates his birthday was passed. And I was fascinated by what I had learned. The episode was on the Pantsuit Politics podcast. That's hosted by Beth Silvers and Sarah Stewart Holland. And I do highly recommend that episode as well as just their podcast in general. It's a great source for kind of a nuanced and balanced coverage of things that are happening in the news, as well as pointers on how to have what they call grace-filled political conversations. But I digress. So I was born in April of 1984. And I didn't even realize that I had briefly lived in a world that didn't include a holiday on a Monday in January for Dr. King. But I was shocked to learn that despite the fact that he was murdered 16 years before my birth, despite the fact that I grew up being taught about him and reading and memorizing portions of his speeches in public school, the movement to commemorate his birth with a national holiday was a hard-fought battle. And it only finally succeeded in a few months before I was even born in November of 1983. The first federal holiday commemorating his birth wasn't celebrated until '86. This was striking to me. I've spoken in the All Souls pulpit before about the ways in which Dr. King's movement and message and teachings are watered down and made more palatable, particularly for white people. The King that we talk about and who we want to quote in support of all sorts of things which run counter to so much of his message may be politic and safe, but that's not the King who the FBI targeted and even labeled a dangerous Negro. That's not the King whose birthday becoming a holiday was such a controversial subject that it took 3 decades for the process to be fully completed. That's not the King who, while also advocating an approach involving nonviolent direct action, was met with violence over and over again, violence which would ultimately end his life. The King who attacked racism, who asked that his children live and grow up in a world where they would not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character, that's the watered down King with whom I was so familiar as a child and a young adult. I didn't meet the King who spoke out against what he called the 3 giant triplets until much later in my life. In his speech entitled The 3 Evils of Society, Dr. King said in part, "So we are here because we believe, we hope, we pray that something new might emerge in the political life of this nation, which will produce a new man, new structures and institutions, and a new life for mankind. I am convinced that this new life will not emerge until our nation undergoes a radical revolution of values, when machines and computers, profit motives and property rights are considered more important than people. The giant triplets of racism, economic exploitation, and militarism are incapable of being conquered. A civilization can flounder as readily in the face of moral bankruptcy as it can through financial bankruptcy. A true revolution of values will soon cause us to question the fairness and justice of many of our past and present policies. We are called to play the Good Samaritan on life's roadside, but that will only be the initial act. One day, the whole Jericho road must be transformed so that men and women will not be beaten and robbed as they make their journey through life. True compassion is more than flinging a coin to a beggar. It understands that an edifice which produces beggars needs restructuring. Dr. King was clearly talking about much more than sit-ins at lunch counters and bus boycotts and speeches on the Washington Mall. Those things were critically important, and they were effective in making substantial changes in our society. But King was also striking at the very heart of values that are so inextricably linked to America in the minds of some that to question them means to have your own patriotism questioned. He was calling for a movement that would result in income equality, challenge American foreign policies based on imperialism's endless wars, and level the playing field so that no person would be unfairly advantaged or disadvantaged due to their race. It's this King who helps us understand why, at the time of this movement, he and his movement had a 75% disapproval rating among Americans. In fact, a poll conducted within a week of his assassination found that 31% of Americans endorsed feeling that King brought his assassination on himself. He was met with criticisms that sound all too familiar even in 2022. It's not the right time. He's asking for too much too fast. He should be happy with the progress that's been made and quit demanding more change. He's causing more division than he's creating. It was against this political landscape that the push for a federal holiday in his honor began. The push started a mere 4 days after his assassination in April of 1968, when Representative John Conyers filed a motion to that effect. This was then met with a push by Senator Edward Brooks, who was the only Black US Senator at the time, to make it a day of commemoration rather than a holiday in the Senate. So Brooks was actually pushing for kind of less of a formal recognition of King. Representative Conyers and Coretta Scott King, however, would not settle for that compromise, and the battle for a full federal holiday waged on. It gained relatively little traction until 1971 with the founding of the Congressional Black Caucus. The CBC took up the issue as a central focus of theirs. Even with their support and work, the bill would not come for a vote until 1979. If you're keeping track, that's 11 years after it was initially introduced. That was during the 50th anniversary of King's birth. President Carter was supportive of the effort, though some have rightfully criticized him for not being quite vocal enough in his support of it and not pushing the legislation harder. The bill had 118 co-sponsors in the House and 37 co-sponsors in the Senate. So by this point, it had definitely gained some momentum. The bill passed the House and made it out of committee in the Senate, but not before Strom Thurmond tried to stymie the effort again by introducing a call to make it a national day of recognition rather than a federal holiday. Again, we're trying to walk it back. Thankfully, Thurmond's efforts failed, though there was still significant opposition to the federal holiday outside of Thurmond's, as Republicans expressed concerns about the cost of adding a federal holiday, as well as concerns about the fact that we had never had a federal holiday before for a private citizen. We had only recognized presidents at that level. So when the bill came to a vote, it was brought under what's called a suspension of the rules. So that process was usually used for non-controversial legislation, which of course this was not, and required a 2/3 majority vote to pass, but it did allow them to vote on the bill without any opportunity for further amendments to the bill. It missed that 2/3 threshold by 5 votes, while still gaining a simple majority. The bill failed, even though Democrats were in control of the White House and both houses of Congress, but largely because, again, of that procedural rule that required a larger majority than usual. The bill then came to another vote under the usual rules and required a simple majority, and it allowed for amendments. One of the amendments that was introduced would have made it a holiday, but celebrated on a Sunday, which most people are off work on Sundays anyway. The bill was pulled until further consideration by the sponsors and House leadership, and the effort was kind of put to the side for a time. So in 1981, as part of the public push for the passage of the holiday, which was led by the King Center, Stevie Wonder released his song, Happy Birthday to You. One of the lyrics says, I just never understood how a man who died for good could not have a day that would be set aside for his recognition. Because it should never be just because some cannot see. The dream is clear as he, that they should make it become an illusion. And we all know everything that he stood for, time will bring. For in peace our hearts will sing, thanks to Martin Luther King. There was a march on Washington. King's widow met with Tip O'Neill, who was then the House leader, and presented to him a petition with 6 million signatures in support of the holiday. At the time, it was the largest ever petition effort by private citizens to the government. So it had a lot of popular support. And finally, in 1983, now we're 15 years past the bill being introduced, it passed the House with 53 more votes than it needed. When it moved to the Senate, there was still a lot of opposition, so much so that King's widow and son led prayer vigils outside of the Capitol because it was that uncertain how the vote was going to go in the Senate. Jesse Helms, who was a senator from South Carolina at the time, mounted a filibuster against it. And get this, leaders of both parties filed a cloture motion against it to stop the filibuster. Can you imagine both parties being on the same side of something? That's kind of almost sounds absurd at this point. But they did and stopped his filibuster. They also bargained with Helms about a separate tobacco and dairy bill to get him to allow to agree to a unanimous consent to the vote on the MLK holiday bill. But the debate and the controversy wasn't over. Helms showed up with a 400-page document in which he viciously attacked King's character. Senator Kennedy rightfully called some of Helms's allegations false, and a Republican senator asked that the word false be stricken from the record because he felt it was too harsh, even though the allegations were false. The Senate actually had a debate or discussion about whether King may in fact have been a communist, but it finally passed the Senate, and President Reagan signed it into law in 1983. And the first observed MLK federal holiday was celebrated in January of 1986. But here's the thing. There is nothing written that says that states have to recognize federal holidays. So 17 states had already recognized the holiday at the state level, but the push to have it unanimously recognized nationwide in all 50 states continued. So as an example, Arizona was one of these states. And by 1990, they had not adopted the holiday. So again, now we're 22 years beyond when it's initially been introduced, and we're still battling for states to recognize it. The NFL and other entertainment companies were boycotting Arizona over it at the time. That also sounds kind of familiar these days. And the state put the holiday up for a referendum vote in 1990. The vote failed. And so the NFL actually moved the Super Bowl that year to California in protest of Arizona's failure to adopt and recognize the national holiday. Eventually, all 50 states did come around, but the last of the states did not do so until the year 2000, as in the 21st century. That was Utah, Virginia, and South Carolina, who were the last to come around that year. So as states slowly adopted this holiday, there were other efforts that went alongside it, and I'll let you infer from it what you will. So Mississippi and Alabama said that they would recognize the holiday for King. They didn't have a problem with that, but they were going to recognize it on January 19th, which was Robert E. Lee's birthday. Again, you can infer what you will from that. So some states did this kind of begrudgingly and in a sarcastic manner, but it eventually is now recognized in all 50 states and at the federal level. So as I close, I'd like us to think about King's legacy and what our part in it is. His work is clearly ongoing through the efforts of organizations like the King Center, Black Lives Matter, the Poor People's Campaign, and Fair Fight. As he said in his final speech, I've been to the mountaintop. I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. May we all do all that we can to bend the arc towards justice and to take steps toward that promised land. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. I really appreciate it. My PS is call your senators if you haven't already and ask them to vote for the John Lewis voting rights bill. Even if you are in Louisiana, do it anyway. Call both of them anyway. And if you aren't in Louisiana, of course, please do as well. Our closing hymn is kind of a fun one, and it's going to be really easy to sing along. So I encourage you to do that. The words will be right on the screen. And again, many thanks to Jennifer. That was wonderful. But yeah, sing along, clap along.
One, two, let's go. One, we see that there's a wrong to be righted. We know that we are strong and united. We exercise our right to assemble. That's when the proud and mighty start to tremble. Nothing takes one ring. Nothing takes one ring. Nothing takes one ring.
And we thank the Justice Choir for providing that Creative Commons license for us to use that. In our benediction this morning, we have the words of Dr. King. Let us be those creative dissenters who will call our beloved nation to a higher destiny, to a new plateau of compassion, to a more noble expression of humanness. Cowardice asks the question, is it safe? Expediency asks the question, is it politic? Vanity asks the question, is it popular? But conscience asks the question, is it right? And there comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe, nor politic, nor popular, but one must take it because it is right. Go in peace. Amen. Blessed be. Call your senators. Wear your masks. Get your shots. Stay safe. Thank you.
Jesus spoke, entreating them to live together in a great circle of love. And when his followers asked him then who should be included, Jesus said, let everybody in, Everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody, 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 everybody into the circle, circle. Oligarchs and tyrants try to keep some in and everyone else outside, till revolution sweeps across the land and the people all stand and the common folk cry that everybody, everybody, everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody, 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 everybody into the circle, circle. Sometimes a circle is a class or creed. Sometimes a circle is made of only men. Until Susan B. Anthony says, what about me? Let me in, let everybody in, everybody in, everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody, 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 everybody into the circle, circle. Sometimes a circle is a privileged thing, excluding people for the color of their skin, until the voice of Martin Luther King says, let freedom ring, let them in, let everybody in, everybody in, everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody, 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 everybody into the circle, circle. Gay and straight, rich and poor, whole and broken, open up that door. The more we are, the greater we become. After all, we all are one. Bring in the people, but don't stop there. Bring in the fish in the sea and the birds in the air. Bring in the rivers wide and the mountains tall. We go together, not at all. Let everybody in, everybody in, everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody, 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 everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody, everybody, everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody.